to me is another reason why Caitlin Clark needs to flee the WNBA. It's a political organization. They're not serious about business. They don't care about traditional sports fans. It's a little cult that puts out little political statements. Everybody wears vote t-shirts. They don't care about making money. They don't care really about building up this league and making it profitable. They're a charity. She needs to flee the WNBA and start her own league.
You heard him. Flee the WNBA. For weeks, that's been the rallying cry from a certain corner of the sports world. And honestly, for a minute, it made sense. Why would she stay? Why would anyone stay in a league that seems determined to break its brightest star? They offered her a golden parachute, a Lionel Messi-style deal with the new Unrivaled league that was reportedly worth over $1 million plus equity. An easy way out, a chance to escape the war zone. But Caitlin Clark did something no one expected. She said no. And that's when I knew. That's when every player who's ever been through the league's meat grinder knew. This isn't about escaping. This isn't about money or rest. Her rejection of that money wasn't a surrender. It was a declaration of war. She's not fleeing the WNBA. She's staying to burn down the system that tried to destroy her from the inside. And I've seen this fire before, but never on this scale. They don't know what's coming. Stick with me and I'll show you the real story they don't want you to see. When you first come into this league, there's a period of adjustment. Everyone goes through it. They call it welcome to the league moments. A little extra physicality, some trash talk. It's a test. But what we've been watching with Caitlin Clark, this isn't a test. This is a targeted campaign. I've been in those locker rooms. I've heard the whispers that turn into game plans. What's happening to her is different. It's personal. Clark has been hit with flagrant fouls at a rate that is simply unheard of for a rookie guard. We all saw the deliberate body check from Chennedy Carter, away from the ball, a move that had nothing to do with basketball and everything to do with intimidation. We saw the aggressive takedown by Marina Mabrey. These aren't just hard fouls, they are statements. They are messages being sent, not just by the players, but by a league that allows it to happen through selective officiating. They're telling her you are not welcome here. And the worst part, other players see it. They know it's wrong. You had Sophie Cunningham, one of her opponents, publicly state, "The star player of the league is not being protected." Think about how damning that is. An active player on another team admitting in public that the league is failing to protect its most important asset. That's how you know this isn't just fan speculation. It's a recognized fact inside the league itself. The physical toll has been obvious. Clark, a player who was an Iron Woman in college, has missed 10 games in her rookie season due to injuries from this excessive physical play. We've all seen the heartbreaking images of her leaving the court, covering her head with a towel, fighting back tears, and while some critics want to call that weakness, they're missing the point. That's not the image of a player breaking. That's the image of a fighter steeling herself. That's the fuel being poured on a fire. You can only push someone so far before they stop crying and start fighting back. And here's the hypocrisy that makes my blood boil. While the league turns a blind eye to the physical abuse, they are reaping the rewards of her presence like never before. They know exactly how valuable she is. They see the numbers. They just hoped she wouldn't realize the power she holds. But the evidence is now undeniable. During Clark's 10-game absence due to those injuries, the WNBA's ratings collapsed by a staggering 55%. Let me repeat that. 55%. Games went from averaging 1.81 million viewers with her to just 847,000 without her. Some games scraped by with a pathetic 459,000 viewers. She isn't just a star player. For all intents and purposes, she is the league right now. And what is her reward for being the literal golden goose, for putting the league on her back and carrying it to heights it has never seen?
I think Caitlin Clark should join Unrivaled. I'm not so sure. I think that the money needs to be high. It needs to be in the millions. It needs to be at least what Cube offered her for the big three at minimum. And even with that, Caitlin Clark doesn't need any money. She has plenty of endorsement deals. I think she is totally fine. And I think for her body and for her mental health, it might not be the best. One of the founders of Unrivaled had this to say about Caitlin Clark. She said, "It's just so crazy crazy because the growth that Caitlyn has brought to the game, the sheer amount of money that she's making these teams, people are having to move their venues when she comes to play, and she's getting paid like $75,000 a year. She should be one of the top paid players in the world just for the sheer numbers that she's bringing. And I'm glad that a WNBA player is finally saying this out loud, admitting to it, because it has been so clear for so many people the Caitlyn Clark effect that she has had on the WNBA.
She's getting paid like $75,000 a year. Can you imagine the disrespect? She's generating millions upon millions for teams, forcing them to move to bigger venues just to handle the demand. And her official salary is less than what some people make at a desk job. It's a slap in the face. It's the league telling her, "We will use you, we will profit from you, but we will never respect you." This is why the Unrivaled League seemed like such an obvious escape hatch. This new 3-on-3 league, co-founded by respected veterans like Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, wasn't just some fantasy. It's real. Players like Angel Reese have already signed on. They promised to pay its players the highest average salaries in the history of professional women's sports. And for Clark, they were willing to do anything. The offer was tailor-made to be her salvation. They reportedly offered her a salary of over $1 million for just a few months of work, more than 13 times her entire WNBA salary. But it was more than that. It was a Lionel Messi-style deal, a package that included an equity stake in the entire league. They weren't just offering her a job, they were offering her a kingdom, a chance to be the owner, the face and the undisputed star of a league that actually wanted her. All she had to do was say yes and walk away from the abuse, but she said no. Why? Why would anyone turn that down? For months, people who don't understand the mind of a competitor have been guessing. Maybe she wanted to rest. Maybe she felt loyalty to the fever. All wrong. To understand why she rejected a $1 million escape plan, you have to understand the moment the final betrayal occurred, the moment that woke the monster. I'm talking about the Olympic snub. We all knew it was shocking, but we didn't know the real reason until recently. Christine Brennan's book revealed the gut-wrenching truth. Clark wasn't cut because of her talent or her popularity. She was cut because her spot was essentially reserved as a farewell gift to Diana Taurasi. There were only 11 real spots available because one was guaranteed to a veteran as a thank you tour. On top of that, reports claim USA basketball officials were scared of negative social media backlash if their new star didn't get enough playing time. It was a decision made out of fear, politics, and cronyism. It was the establishment protecting its own. That was the moment everything changed. That was the ultimate proof that no matter how many tickets she sold, no matter how high she pushed the ratings, she would never be accepted by the old guard. They would rather give a spot away as a parting gift than give it to the most popular player on the planet. And what was Clark's response to her coach after she heard the news? She didn't cry. She didn't complain. She said two sentences that should send a chill down the spine of every WNBA executive. She said, "Hey coach, they woke a monster." That is the key. That's the reason she rejected the $1 million. A monster doesn't run from the fight. A monster doesn't take the easy way out. A monster stays, and it gets revenge. Fleeing to Unrivaled would have been letting them win. It would have been admitting they chased her out. By rejecting the money and staying in the WNBA, she was making her stand. She was telling them, "You will not break me. You will not get rid of me. I'm not going anywhere." This is the war they asked for. And now, they have to deal with the monster they created. The culture of the WNBA has been a problem for years. It's a league that often seems hostile to the very fans it needs to survive. That unlikable culture is what tried to chew Caitlyn Clark up and spit her out. And it's that same culture she has now decided to confront head-on. Jason Whitlock was screaming for her to run away.
I don't care how much money. They can offer Caitlyn Clark $100 million, and I would tell her to stay away from this Unrivaled 3-on-3. It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a bad look for women's basketball. It's going to hurt their momentum. It's not even a real thing. It's something to pacify them, to make the women think, hey, you know what? I need to keep going along with this crap WNBA league that has poor leadership and doesn't know how to become profitable so we can get paid. They want to get paid for just whining and complaining and saying we deserve it rather than earning it. They could earn it if they start.
But he and everyone else underestimated her. They thought she was a victim. They didn't realize she was a general. Her rejection wasn't an emotional decision. It was the first tactical move in a much larger war. And we are now seeing the next phase of her plan unfold. What does this revenge look like? It's not just about dropping 40 points on the court, it's about dismantling the power structure of the league. Notice the timing. Just as Clark's value becomes undeniable, just as she rejects an offer that exposes the league's pathetic pay scale, what happens? The WNBA Players Union officially opts out of their collective bargaining agreement. The timing is almost too perfect. Some believe Clark's rejection may have even been a coordinated move with the union's strategy to force the WNBA's hand on compensation for everyone. Whether she's working with them or they're just riding her coattails, her actions have triggered a league-wide financial rebellion. She has single-handedly created a crisis that will force the league to either pay up or collapse. But there's an even bigger weapon she's now holding. By staying, she is forcing a spotlight on the hostile environment she works in. And now, it's attracting attention from the highest levels. A former White House staffer, Sean McClain, has publicly called for federal government intervention, arguing that Clark is facing a textbook hostile work environment and citing potential civil rights violations. This is the nuclear option. By staying in the line of fire, she isn't just enduring abuse, she is meticulously gathering evidence for a potential landmark case that could change professional sports forever. Every cheap shot, every flagrant foul, every ignored call is another piece of proof. So let's put all the pieces together. They targeted her physically. They betrayed her professionally with the Olympic snub. They disrespected her financially. They gave her $1 million escape route, and she turned it down flat. She chose to stay in the fire. Why? Because she's not just playing basketball anymore. She's playing chess. And her rejection of Unrivaled wasn't the end of her story. It was the beginning of her war. She has the league in a checkmate position. If they don't protect her, their ratings die, and they now face a potential federal investigation. If they do protect her, they admit their guilt and legitimize the monster they created. The question is no longer if Caitlin Clark will survive the WNBA. The question is if the WNBA will survive Caitlin Clark. She told them she was coming. They didn't listen. Now the monster is at the gate, and she plans on burning the whole kingdom down.